Hello my friends, Namaste. Today I'm going to show you in Series 1.3 the interactive chart adjusting. Some people call it chart animation. It goes under different terms. So this is fun. You get to play with the chart. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So let's just clear everything. I'm in the opening screen of Sirius. I'll just say clear all my data. Give me a new list of charts. Let's look at Hillary Clinton. Okay, so I type in her name. There it is. I've got her. It's an 8 p.m. time. Says it's quoted from a birth certificate. Well, I guess some people are born on the hour. Well, anyway. Now, to demonstrate some ideas, I'm going to enter a chart for a date in the future when maybe she wants to do something. So I'll click on New Natal. And I'll just call this 2016, and I'll do it for spring, maybe March 1st, 2016. Any old time is fine, 12 noon. We'll do it for Washington, D.C. Doesn't really matter for this purpose. So I've entered a chart for some date in the future when, if Hillary was a client of mine, maybe she's thinking of doing something. When the next election season comes around, maybe early in that year, I'm just playing around making a hypothetical situation here. You'll see why I'm entering this in a minute. So I'll say I'm done. Should I save this chart? No. I usually save everything, but I won't bother. So now I've got my two charts. I'm looking at this chart for March 1st, 2016. There it is. And then I click on Hillary's chart, and there's her chart. By coincidence, by the way, unusual coincidence, they just happen to have almost the same ascendant. Hillary's got 29 degrees Gemini, right almost on 0 Cancer, and this date I made up happened to have 28 Gemini rising. Anyway, there's two charts. Now let me show you this interactive chart adjusting and chart animation stuff. In Sirius, you have these purple icons which do things like your settings and your help and Astro Encyclopedia and Avalon Lessons and all this stuff, research. And these two icons with a clock on them, here's you might say the big clock, and to the right of it is a little clock. Those are your animation features, and this one is called Interactive Chart Adjust. You see that pop-up hint there. Well, let's try that one and see what it does. And I'm going to do it while I'm looking at this date in the future, this March 1st, 2016. Okay, I'm just going to click on it. We'll see what it does. I click, boink. All right, what did it do? What it did is it it brought up a little window here with all kinds of stuff. So I'm still looking at my chart, nothing changed, but I've got all this stuff. Shows me dates that I could apply, so I can move the chart forward and backward. If I move it forward, say an hour, 1 hour, and I hit later, this should move, if you're familiar with the technical details of astrology, would move the houses about 15 degrees in an hour, which would move this to the middle of Cancer, and this to Pisces. Let me make it simpler. I'll go 2 hours. If I go 2 hours, I should move about one sign. Go from about 28 Gemini to 28 Cancer, though it varies a lot. And the midheaven moves at a more regular speed, would take me to about 6 Aries. So I hit an hour, I say click, go an hour later, and it did it. Put my midheaven at about 8 Aries, and the Cancer rising moved only about 26 degrees, moved a little bit less than one sign, is still at the end of Cancer. So that's it. I could go another hour, and I've got 18 Leo, so that's fun. And I can go earlier, boink, and 2 hours earlier. I could say just go 1 hour earlier. I could say go 40 minutes later. You got the idea. Go a day later. And this thing spins around to those charts, and it shows me, after all that jumping around, I'm now at April 10, 2016, after I did 40 days. That's what I get. That's what I get for typing too fast. I went 40 days forward, and I ended up at April 10th. So anyway, you can jump around by months, years, and so on. So that's fun. That's a basic feature that's in most programs. Now, what happens here if I click reset to original date? It sets me back to March 1st, 2016 with the 12 noon and the 28 Gemini rising. Well, that was handy, actually, since I was clicking away like a madman. It got me back to my original chart. Now, this is cool. This next feature I'm going to talk about. You can move the chart forward and backward for some aspect to occur. So I suppose I'm looking at this chart, and we're picking a date for, maybe she tells me, well, right around March 1st, I need to make an announcement of some kind. So I could say, let's see, I'm at 12 noon, what would happen later in the day? Maybe I could get the sun trine the ascendant, maybe I could get sun on the midheaven. Let's see, if I go a little bit earlier, let's put sun, I click on this down here, midheaven. Let's see, the planets, if you're familiar with the motion, they rise here, they come. So a little bit later in the day, very slightly later, the midheaven would be conjunct the sun. So I could say, go to the next sun, 0 degrees, 0 minutes to the midheaven. And I'm at 12 noon, and if I say find time of aspect, at exactly 12 hours, 20 minutes, and 20 seconds, so about 20 minutes and 20 seconds later, we see the sun is conjunct the midheaven at 11 degrees Pisces. So there we go. And I could actually even move it by seconds. I could say move 4 seconds earlier, for example, and the midheaven has now moved back to 11 Pisces 32. If I say go 2 seconds later, and now it's showing them to the minute. So 11 Pisces 33, 11 Pisces 33. So I can adjust that by seconds to get it exactly right. The original time it found was 12, 20 minutes and 20 seconds, and rounded off it's showing 1 minute difference. It's probably less than a minute. It's only a couple of seconds. Anyway, it's within 2 seconds of the exact time sun is right on the midheaven. So there we go. So I move it there, and I can say, okay, Hillary, at 12:20 would be a good time to get sun on the midheaven. Of course, you'd want to look at more than that, but that's the basic idea, how you can move this thing around. She might say, well, what about a little bit later in the day? And I could say, well, maybe we want to put Mercury on the midheaven, and we can play around with that and adjust this any way we want. Let's see, Mercury would be at the midheaven a little bit earlier, so I could say, let's put Mercury on the midheaven, find the previous one, go, and now click on Find Time of Aspect, and it's at 11:13:29, and there it is, to the minute, Mercury conjunct the midheaven. So this is really, really cool. And what options do we have? Well, there's a lot. We can take a planet to a planet. I could find the next Mercury-Venus conjunction. It's going to be probably way off in the future. It might be a year from now. Who knows when it will be, or it might be a month from now. Well, let's do it. I could say, go find it. I'm in March 2016, find time of aspect. That was quick. Oh, I've got this on previous. I found the previous one because I had it set on previous, and it went back to August 6th, 2015. So for March is what, about a half a year earlier. And there we see Mercury and Venus exactly conjunct to the minute. And I could go forward, find time of aspect, and the next one is on May 13th. Mercury conjunct Venus. There it is, exact to the minute. With Mercury's retrograde, Venus is direct, right there. And like, oh, that's great. And you could adjust anything you want. So this is fun. You can move the chart forward and backward. And this is often used in electional astrology, which means pick a time. And some astrologers like to use these interactive tools like this. So as you know, Sirius has a huge number of tools for different kinds of astrologers using different methods. You may or may not like this. You may think, this doesn't mean anything to me. Or you may say, this is wonderful. This is what I've been dying for. Seems like there's as many kinds of astrology as there are astrologers. So this is just, another tool out there. I could say, let me know when Mercury, Venus are trine. Mercury and Venus are never trine. I could say, when are Mercury and Mars, because they're always near each other. When are Mercury and Mars trine each other? Find time of aspect. And I'm going to the next one, and then it would find that. So it's very, very cool. There they are. Mercury's at 23 degrees, 53 minutes of Cancer. Mars, 23 degrees, 53 minutes of Scorpio, and there's the trine. So, happens to be in July 10th, 2016, at 9 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second p.m. Timed very precisely. Okay, so that's very cool. We can move the chart around. Now, what if I'm looking for a time? This gets more and more wonderful for doing electional. You're looking at a time, and you say, I kind of like this chart. Maybe I want this chart. I want to keep poking around. What you can do is down here, there are two tabs, we call them. One says aspect to a point. This lets you know, I'll talk about it later, aspects to like the midheaven. Also has some fixed aspects to fixed stars. This is cool, the hold restore. I could say, hold this chart. I wanna hold this guy. I want to look at it again later. So I could say add a chart, defaults to a chart name with the date and time. And I could make another note. I could say trine Venus or something. It might be more meaningful to me, and it puts it there. Now I could go forward and I could say, let me try, let me adjust this a little bit. Let me get the moon. Maybe I want moon trine ascendant for whatever reason. Or maybe I want sun on the 7th house cusp. Maybe it's a relationship thing. This would be earlier on the same day. So I could go previous. And I could say, give me the sun. And let's see, I could scroll down here to see if it has it has 7th house cusp. I could do it that way. I could also say ascendant opposition. Or I could say conjunct the 7th house. It would be the same thing. And I'm here at July 10, 9 p.m. And go to the previous one, find time of aspect. And it's exactly 7:30 p.m. About an hour and a half earlier, there's the sun on the 7th. Exactly. And I know exactly when that's going to occur. And I say, well, gee, I kind of like this chart. What are you going to do? Write all this stuff down? Instead of doing that, you can say add chart. And I could put here with sun ascendant. Or sun conjunct ascendant. So same as the previous one, except now I've got sun ascendant. And I could keep playing around and holding these. And then if I want to go back, I just click on it. There I am. I'm back to my Mercury trine. I wrote the wrong name for this. I said Mercury trine Venus. It's Mercury trine Mars. Anyway, you got the idea. I'm not saying what I'm thinking here. See, I make mistakes too. I meant to type Mercury trine Mars. Anyway, I know what it means. It's my Mercury trine Mars, and I could go back to the one with this. This is the one at 9 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second. I can go back here, and I could look at this one. I could say, oh yeah, I like this one. And then I could click on this tab, and I could see if there are any fixed stars on the midheaven. There's a crux separating conjunct the midheaven with a 10-minute orb, Alphecca, applying to the ascendant 16-minute orb. If I'm interested in minor aspects, I could look at those. I could say, well, let me also see the ascendant. So this is handy stuff. no fixed stars, and I can see what the aspects are. Of course, Sun is opposite the ascendant, 0 degrees, 0 minutes, because I set it up to be that way. So astrologers have asked us for those things. They also asked that we uncheck Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, because in some of the classical forms of astrology, you do some of the analysis without the outer planets. And there's a button here to select aspects and all kinds of stuff. But you got the idea. Another thing you can do, by the way, is it says here aspect or position. I could actually, if I click on position, it'll ask me where I want. Suppose I want to move the Sun forward to a specific point. Let's say I want it at the Sun at 0 degrees Leo. So I go down here and I select Leo, and that will be later in the year. Make sure I have next. I'm in July 2016, and I want to move that forward. Find time of position. The button knows I'm looking at positions. Find time of position. Yes, do it. And it's moved the Sun over to the 0 Leo later in the year on July 22nd, exactly the Sun ingress. So you can move things forward and backward. You can hold them here, and just by clicking, you get back to a previous one. Now, another amazing thing. Suppose I say, oh, I really like this Sun conjunct the ascendant with the Mercury trine Mars. I said conjunct. I meant opposition. Boy, I can't speak correctly. With Sun opposite the ascendant, I really like this chart. I've got my Mercury trine Mars. Notice it's got a little bit of an orb now, very small orb. This is 2345. This is 2353. But I'm saying that's fine. I don't need it to be right to the minute. I want that Sun on the 7th. This is a good chart. Now what do? Maybe you might want to keep this chart. You might want to look at other things. You might want to look at another chart wheel. Well, here's a very cool feature. Save as new chart entry. What this does is you're interacting, playing with stuff, and you say, add it to my list of chart entries. I'll show you what it does. I click on that, and I say, let's call this my Mercury. It defaults to a name of the chart, -2. I'm going to call it Mercury trine Mars and Sun opposite. Whoops, too long. Mercury trine Mars, Sun opposite Pluto. Whatever. Sun opposite ascendant. Sun ascendant. Something like that. So now I've given it a name. I'm just going to do it like that. Sun trine Mars, Sun ascendant. And I click OK. The chart has been added to the current list of entries. OK, thank you. What does that mean? If I cancel out of this, you'll see what happened. It added it as a chart. Now I've got 3 charts. I've got Hillary. There she is. Born October 26, 1947. And her Sun at 2 degrees Scorpio, etc. Here's that chart I entered just to play around with to show you that feature. And here's my electional chart for the July 10, 2016, 7:30 p.m. Sun right on the 7th house, and my Mercury trine Mars. So now I've saved it as an entry. So now I could say, I can play with this baby. I could say, let me see the midpoints. Let's just look at conjunctions and oppositions with small orbs. Great. I click OK. And I could say, Mercury conjunct Sun Venus, I like that or I don't like it. Pluto opposite Moon Uranus looks a little bit explosive. And you could say, well, gee, what happens if I adjust the time a little bit? Here's the cool thing. When I go to the time adjust, right back to the same place I was, it shows whatever I'm looking at. It'll stay on this. I'll show you. I click on it. It's still showing my midpoints. Let me go forward a minute. Or 5 minutes, a little more, so I can see something. Is that going to change the orb of this? Pluto opposite Moon Uranus, 3 minutes. I say go forward 5 minutes. It went to a 5-minute orb. Click again, 6-minute orb, 7-minute orb. Click again, 8-minute orb. It's moving about that midpoint structure is changing about 1 minute in orb every 5 minutes of time. So this is just cool stuff. I can, keep going forward. Will my Mercury conjunct Sun Venus at 4 minute? Probably won't change very much. How about if I go an hour? See what difference that makes. Let's see, this is 4 minute orb, that's an 8 minute orb. I go forward an hour. This became almost exact. This one became weaker. So your time adjust will work with whatever you're looking at. So that's cool. And then you could save this as yet another entry. Save as new entry. Okay, I like the name. This is my number 2. Okay, I've got it. Thank you. I'll cancel out of this. And now I've got 2 charts added. I've got this one, and I've got a slightly different one that I had moved forward a few hours. Let's see, this one is at 8:50 p.m. and I click on this one, which is 7:30 p.m. So it's an hour and whatever, 20 minutes or whatever earlier. So now I've got 2 charts I might like. So you have all these cool features for interacting, saving, whatever kind of wheel style you're looking at. For example, if I right-click, I go to my special wheel styles. I go to one of the medieval wheel styles, and it's showing my essential dignities and everything, and I click OK. Now, what happens if I go to time adjust? You know, it's going to stay on this. How cool is that? So I'm going to go back to my time adjust. And this is my chart for 7:30, and I'm looking at my essential dignities, and I'm saying I could be looking at my moon aspects. I'm in the Saturn hour, and it tells me I'm right on the cusp. I'm right about to switch to Jupiter. Let's see if that's true. I'll go forward 1 minute, and I'll say go forward 1 minute. Boing, it did it. I'm now in the hour of Jupiter. This may be a little hard to read on your condensed screen for this tutorial, but it told me I'm now in the hour of Jupiter, if that's big enough for you to read on your reduced size screen. And I just came out of a Saturn hour 1 minute earlier. So now I'm saying, I believe in planetary hours. I don't want to be in a Saturn hour. I'm really glad I moved this 1 minute later. It's worth it. It hardly moved my cusps, but it got me into a Jupiter hour. So you can be looking at any of the reports, any of the wheel styles, do the time adjust, manipulate it, move it around, hold it if it looks good, bring it back, save it as a chart entry, and there you go. If I click on save, it would save this chart, which is really the same as save as new entry, but or actually it would replace. If I click on save, it replaces my chart with the adjusted one. And just hit cancel, and there we go. And I could have added that as another entry. In fact, let me do that. I'll right-click. Oh, not right-click. I'll cancel. I'll go to time adjust. I'll go forward that 1 minute. My hour changed to Jupiter. Let me add this as an entry. It's my number 3. Good. Okay. Thank you. Cancel out of my time adjust. And now I've got my chart number 3, which, it brought up my default wheel. I'll right-click and bring up that medieval 1. Okay, and there it is with the hour of Jupiter. And the one that was a minute later at 7:30 p.m. was the hour of Saturn. So this gives you a realistic idea of how you can play and manipulate and use whatever tools you like for this interactive thing. Now, that's the basic chart adjust. It gets even more interesting. What if I want to compare the chart I'm selecting with Hillary's chart? So you can do that as well, and that's where these animation features come in. As I click on this, and I can look at an astro clock. That's where you can see the chart actually move in real time. It's a lot of fun. I'll come back to that later if I have time for this video. But I can go to the animation adjust natal transit, for example. Well, actually, what am I doing here? I want to go back to Hillary's chart. So I've got Hillary, and now let me do a natal transit. And what date was I interested in? July 10, 2016. Okay, so now I'll go back to Hillary. I'll go to the bi-wheel animation and adjust, natal transit, and it gives me a bi-wheel, and I can change this to the July 10, 2016, apply the date. So now I have that July 10, 2016 chart. I also have my adjust. I can move it to a specific time of day. And I've got a bi-wheel with Hillary. There's Hillary with her 2 degrees Scorpio sun and, right on the cusp, ascendant, almost 29 degrees, almost 0 Cancer. There's Hillary. There's the transits for that date, right? There's the Mercury trine Mars there. Yeah, so there I've got that chart. Now I could look at the relationship between them, and I could pull up different kinds of chart wheels to see what's going on. Or, so if I could move forward an hour, notice only, I'll do it again, notice only the outer ring moves. So it's moving along, just the outer ring. Okay, so there you have it. And it's showing, this particular wheel style is very cool because it shows the transiting house cusps as well as the natal house cusps. So here's the transiting chart at this point has 21 degrees Scorpio rising, and this is the first house of the transits and second house of the transits, and this is the natal first house. So you're actually seeing both wheels. Now, what's also wonderful with this is that you can change the wheel style right here. Instead of own cusps, what if you like the more traditional kind where the natal, I don't know if it's more traditional, but a commonly used one. I'll click on equally spaced, and that changes it to this type where the natal houses go right through and you just see the transiting planets in a simple format just related to the natal. And when I exit, it will save this as my default. So you can change the wheel style. You can even go to, let's see, a small bi-wheel, small with composite. That's fine. And it instantly changes it. Now I've got an aspect grid and a small bi-wheel, which you probably can't read on your reduced size, but I can read it on the actual full-size screen. It's small, but it's readable, including even the minutes of each planet. A little squashed, but you can read it. And you've got your aspect grid. And as I move forward an hour, you'll see boink, boink, boink. I just moved ahead 3 hours, and you see the aspects changing in the aspect grid. So you've got all these cool toys to play with. You can even click on this and say, give me 2 separate wheels. And now you've got this perspective where I've got the natal here and the transits here if I just want to look at them. So you can just play around. There's some customizing you can do to the wheel as well right here. So lots of fun, lots of things you can play with. What else was I going to tell you about? Oh, this thing right here in the middle is the same thing you saw before. And I could say, give me the, instead of, give me an aspect between, whatever, sun, moon's fine, whatever, give me the next sun-moon aspect, and I could say find time of aspect, and my transit changed, because that's what I want to keep changing. My natal's still the same, and I could see what happened there. So I've got that here. This is actually a new feature I added very recently to 1.3 as I was playing around with it, and I said, gee, I should have this thing in the bi-wheel as well, and I added it. So, if you own Sirius or Kepler and there's something you want, let us know. That was something I just thought of when I was playing with it. I ought to give this to people. And I added that feature. It took me about a day to add it. These programming can take a lot of time. but I thought it was worth doing. So there we go. There's probably more I can show you, but let me exit out of this. I'm into about a half hour of my tutorial, which for some reason I've set a half hour as my length. I just figured if I do hour tutorials, they're a little bit long. So let me just very briefly, since I'm running out of time for how much time I'm allotting, show you these tri-wheels, quad wheels. It's amazing. If I go to tri-wheel, it says it added a day for year progression, and it pulls up a similar thing where I have this little window. And this is really amazing because I can pick which progression I have. Oh, let me change this wheel because it's small, very hard to read. Let me go to a large wheel. Boink! Immediately changed right in front of us. It seems to have some kind of bold here that's not looking so good. I probably played around with it. Oh, I've been playing around with all these wheels. Here's one with no minutes. Whatever. I'm sorry, I customize these things. Looks a little bit bold and harsh. I go to customize wheel and change it, but I'm out of time. But anyway, here's a tri-wheel, and I've got in the middle ring I've got progressions, in the outer ring I've got transits. If I move forward an hour, you see what happens. It's moving both wheels. Well, the progressions don't move much in an hour. Let me change it to a day, and you'll see the progressed moon down here at the bottom, 27 Leo 58, and I click the next day and it's gone up to 28 Leo, and next day 28 Leo 03, and my transits are moving and I can see the whole thing. One of the nice things is to be able to see the minutes. You can see exactly what's going on rather than round it off and trying to figure out what's really happening when it rounded off to a degree. You can also get rid of the minutes if you want to. But normally, I think people want that. And you can change the progression. I could say, well, instead of day for a year, let me see the solar arc. I click on that, and immediately updates it and tells me that the middle ring now is a solar arc direction for this date. All the information's right there. And let me show you the quad wheel. I'm going to exit out of this, go to quad wheel, which is 4 wheels. It added another chart. Solar return, and this is pretty amazing because now what I can do, I've got a quad wheel, I can see the minutes, I've got the natal, the second, let's say inner middle, it is the transits, next one is solar arc directions, and next one's solar return. Solar arc directions because that's where I had left it with my tri-wheel. I could say, no, I don't want solar arc directions, give me my day for a year. Thank you. It automatically updates it within about a second or two. And I could actually put 2 forecast methods. I could put my solar arc, and it and updates the information. This is a solar arc, this is the secondary, this is the transit. I can look at that, I can jump forward a day, and it's going to move all 3 outer rings and leave the natal. So you can play around, you move it around, see what you want. You can start the animation. I'll show you that in a minute. And then you watch everything just kind of move around. So there we go. There's probably more I want to talk about, but that's the basic idea. Here's some wheel style selections with the unequal spaced and all the different choices. Oh, you can do a 90-degree dial if you want. Pretty much out of time, so I'll exit out. And that gives you an idea of a lot of the interactive abilities that are there. And remember, when I say interactive, the basic wheel is already interactive. If I right-click and I go to Customize, and I pop in the 4 major asteroids, boom, it just puts them in there. I showed this in a previous video. So everything is interactive. This interactive means interactive over time, I guess, is the idea. Oh, I didn't show you the animation. If I go over here to Astro Clock, then you can start the animation, and I can do it in real time where they move very slowly, and everything moves. The cusps move about 1 minute every 4 seconds, so I'm at 45 minutes, and then 4 seconds later, now it's at 41, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1000, then it goes to the next one. They move about 1 minute every 4 seconds. I can speed it up. And you can see how the planets are moving over time, and you'll see the aspect lines changing. And over here it's showing you the time. Speed it up a little more. It's a great learning tool, and you can see how the aspects increase. It's fun. It's impressive to look at. Sometimes we like to put up an art wheel. I'll exit here and right-click, go to an art wheel. Let me change that style. It's not my favorite one. Let's see, do I have the optional ones installed? I do. Let me take that pretty guy. So there's one of the optional ones called the Pastel Collection. Okay, so now I've got this pretty wheel, and when I go to the Astro Clock, if you're at a conference, like suppose you're at a fair, psychic fair or something, and you're doing readings or whatever, you can put this up on your screen, you know, when you're not using the computer. If you're out to lunch or something, you have an extra computer, you can put that up, and people go, oh, what is that? That is really cool. And it can also be a great learning tool as well. So that speeded up thing is fun to watch. So anyway, there we go. I'm at 36 minutes. I better stop. I'll end this right here. Let me just exit this, and then we're back to Hillary's chart, and it remembers my original chart, and I'm back to where I began. So in 36 minutes, 37 minutes, whatever this is, that was a very brief and rapid tour through some of the interactive tools. I think I've covered it reasonably well that are there. There's a few things on my mind I could have also shown in addition, but that gives you a good idea. So remember, these buttons sometimes have whole little worlds in there of stuff, cool stuff you can use, developed for different astrologers who have different needs and do things in different ways. Again, our software, both Kepler and Sirius, are resources with huge numbers of things, and I'm just showing different things, different people, you know, gravitate towards different parts of the program. So maybe this is one of the ones that will be useful to you. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to end here. I'm a little over my half-hour time that I like to give to these things. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something. Take care. All the best. God bless. Namaste.